Hello, and welcome to the Gnostic Correspondence study of revolutionary psychology. By the Gnostic master Samael Onvior. This is a series of talks that will include reflections, exercises, and practices to help aid and deepen your understanding of this great work. Chapter 4: The Essence. To begin, let's take a deeper look at the meaning of the title itself, Revolutionary Psychology. In order to do that, I'd like to introduce this glyph, which is known as the Tree of Life. And it expresses reality, or the relationship between spirit and matter in manifestation, where the third dimension, at the bottom, being the densest and the most complicated in this glyph, and at the top the most subtle, free. The more dimensions, the more freedom there is for reality to express itself. The lower the dimensions, the more complication, constriction, and complexity. At the top, we have what is in most religions expressed as the Godhead, or a Trinity. And in Gnosis we refer to as the three primary forces, probably most commonly known in the Christian tradition as Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. But we can find it in all traditions at some level: Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, Osiris, Isis, Horus, etc. These three primary forces have a relationship to what we see as the three triangles distributed here. At the top, one pointing upwards, and the next two pointing downwards. We could say that they have their balance in the central column. At the top, we have the triangle of the Logos, and in the middle, that of the Psyche. Logos, coming from the Greek, where we get our root of the word logic, we could call intelligence, but more appropriately divine intelligence, objective reasoning, where in the center, the triangle of the Psyche relates to the Greek word for soul. Often we call it consciousness. And at the bottom, we have the body. So you see these three realms represent the spirit, the soul, and the body of this Tree of Life. And in Gnosis, for the Gnostic, the Tree of Life is what we call the being. And all the different spheres, or sephira, represent the different vehicles through which the being expresses itself. And at the bottom, we have the physical body within the third dimension, where we find within the triangle directly above the vehicles of the mind, emotion, and vitality. But in truth, these are bodies themselves: the mental body, the emotional or astral body, and the vital body, because they have their own physiology and makeup, their own flesh and bones, their own spine, which is why we see, as the question was asked, this representation of this lance that's broken, striped below the horse, and that the four legs of the horse represent these four bodies respectively, and this broken lance represents the different spinal columns with their energy separated, so that we have the point in the beast or the dragon that's come up from the darkness that holds the physical body in its control, and then the shards of the energy that represents the mental, astral, or vital. Or here we have in this next triangle these three spheres which represent the true self, or in Sanskrit, Atman, its divine consciousness, and its human consciousness, which we call will. So now we can see that this word psychology has a very profound meaning in relation to the consciousness or the soul of the tree in relation to the logos or the logic of the spirit. So psychology is a relationship, an equation of spirit and consciousness. So we can say, from at least the esoteric point of view, psychology is a compound word that expresses the relationship of the integration of the knowledge of the psyche and the logos. And when we think of revolutionary, it implies something new, something novel, radical, a radical type of psychology. And though this teaching is ancient, its understanding has been forgotten. So for the modern times, understanding psychology in this way, from the point of view of the consciousness and its relationship to the spirit, this is revolutionary. But also, when we think revolutionary, we think of struggles or battles. A battle to overcome tyranny, to fight for freedom. And this is absolutely what we're talking about. Because whether we know it or not, we are in a battle, a struggle for freedom. Not freedom that we normally think of in this world, but freedom from slavery of one's own mind, the identification with oneself, within this body, this life, your identity, which is limited, finite, as opposed to the infinite potential of the spirit itself, and the eternal nature of the soul. And in relation to this, we must declare our independence for our essential nature, our essence, who we really are, not who we believe we are or desire to be. We must apply attention and prepare for battle to overcome these dark forces that exist within inside of ourselves, that we see symbolized by this dragon. We must fight like the knight, which is the human will, riding the mind, the emotions, using the energy in this physical body, aspects to free that which we can call our essential nature from the tyranny it is trapped in or by. And so we see and possibly feel as we try to be conscious from moment to moment that it demands a revolution to liberate one's attention from one's identity in this world, in this life, in this body, from these senses that are all based in three-dimensional, temporal reality. And though we may believe in the eternal nature of the soul, believing and becoming conscious of it are two completely revolutionary perspectives. The difference between belief and reality. Where do you want to live? How would you like to live? You must define it. Declare your independence. And as was mentioned in a previous class, this essential nature that we have sleeping within inside of us has its origin in the infinite, abstract, absolute space, or ultimate reality, and it emerges through the realm of the Milky Way and has been born in this world through our own particular divine mother, of which we each have our own feminine spiritual mother. But in order to truly feel the love and nourishment of her support, the support from our spiritual mother, we have to at least a little bit awaken, to provide the space, receive her mystical touch. Our essential nature, or essence, is who we are and who we have been for eternity. But this sense of self, this body, these thoughts, this personality, is just what we've acquired in physical life. And it's become our second nature to protect us because we don't feel and comprehend her. But we search for security in life, and our essence suffers at that pursuit. It is necessary to divide our attention between inner and outer observation. Okay, let's do a little practice. Right here, right now, without changing your posture or position or what you're doing. But bring awareness to yourself, body. Try to imagine that you can feel the sensation of your feet and your body against the chair or seat that you're on, as well as the sensation of the clothing that's draped on your body. Even the hairs upon your arms and your head. Try to imagine that in your awareness, this full, complete connection is felt. All the sensations. Bring yourself totally to this present moment. In the posture that you're in, if you're holding something in your hand, you can set it down or continue holding it. But whatever you do, it's part of the practice. It may be helpful to close your eyes and try to imagine, feel, as if you are in the warm embrace of a loving, supporting mother. I understand it may be difficult. We might not have this relationship to our physical mother, but let's imagine a warm, nurturing, enveloping feeling of safety, protection, support. Let us attempt to have faith in this, that all that has come to you in your life that you've loved and enjoyed is a product of her caring support, her love. Try to feel with your imagination this inspirative, joyful, comforting feeling. And we can open our eyes if we like and look around, but maintain this feeling that, like a warm blanket that surrounds you. The more that we feel it, the more that we relax into it. The more that we feel this gentle touch, the more safe and secure we feel. Let's imagine this feeling as if we're a little child, and it's the first time that we've been in a very huge, exciting department store, and she's holding our hand. We're excited and overwhelmed by all the sensations and the colors and the toys and the possibilities, but also overwhelmed by the activity, and that we don't know how to actually behave in this environment. But there's a tight, firm, loving grip on our hand that brings us peace, and we have trust in this peace, faith that she knows what to do, what we need. And as we feel this, let's look around in our environment and let's imagine that everything that we're experiencing through the senses and in our imagination is inside of her arms. It may be helpful to imagine a loved one or a pet or a child to connect with that joy. But our attempt is to feel the feeling, not identify with the memory. That feeling of safety, security, love. And that it's always been there, and it always will, no matter where we go or what we do. And now, feeling this, let us close our eyes and bring our hands up towards our heart. And let's further increase our imagination, but now divide our attention between the awareness of this feeling of support and love to the feeling that there is inside of our heart, inside of our arms, a beautiful, vulnerable child. This is our essence. It is in love with life, in joy with all it sees, in amazement and wonder. But it's absolutely vulnerable and relies on our safety to protect it. So, like we're held in the arms of our Divine Mother, let's imagine that this essence, this little child, is in our arms. And it's in our heart. And as we're feeling in our awareness this sense of peace from the Divine Mother, let us also transfer and perceive this peace inside the essence in our heart of hearts. And as we look up and look around into the world, even if a memory of the past or the future comes, don't lose heart or don't lose touch with our heart. That this world, with all of its complexities and difficulties, is very exciting and wonderful for this essence that wants to experience everything. But we, as our will, our consciousness, have to perceive everything that's going on outside as we carry this vulnerable essence through life. That we are the protector and the caregiver for this essence that innocently wants to experience life completely, free, to enjoy all the elements of life. It doesn't think in pleasure or pain, good or bad. It wants to experience everything. But it's up to us, the consciousness, to perceive the impressions of life as they come in, the circumstances, the situations, to carry out tasks, looking for things that we need to do, doing them, looking for things we need to stay away from and not do them, but simultaneously not forgetting that in our arms, in our heart, is this vulnerable, beautiful child, our essence. Sit this way for a moment, feeling the feeling of being held and the feeling of holding. This transference of love from our surroundings and the protection of this essential nature, pure and innocent, joyful, but vulnerable. Take a few moments and breathe. Breathe deeply. And as we draw in, we're feeling more in connection with the Divine Mother. If we breathe out, we're feeling the transference of this love into our essence. But simultaneously, we're feeling the love, the appreciation of the essence itself, the respect, the trust. Now, we'll continue on, but let us try to maintain this division of attention between what we're perceiving with the imagination of what we're feeling of the Divine Mother in our awareness, and holding our attention divided into our essence in our heart. Like it's a little flame that the motions of life blow and cause this little candle to flicker. And it's entrusted in us to protect it and keep this flame, keep this life, this light alive, healthy, happy, and safe. Continuing, we see that the essence, like a seed, been planted in this physical world, this world that we perceive through the senses. The seed is resting in this Divine Mother or Divine Matter. It is the seed of life that comes from outside this dimension. It is the cause of life. It is the causal element deposited in this physical dimension that causes the matter around it to grow, to develop. Being eternal in nature, it does not age, and it does not abide by the laws of the third dimension, but it causes all things around it to expand, to age, to develop. Even though it's just a fraction of the soul itself, it maintains all the life-giving potential within it. Because biologically, of course, there are mechanisms for this physical body, its cells, its organs, its functioning to grow and develop in time and space. But there is no such mechanism for the growth and development of the essence. In order for the essence to grow and develop, there needs to be conscious attention, divided as we experienced and as we maintain. The development of the essence is only possible on the basis of conscious works and voluntary suffering. That is to say, to act with the consciousness, attention with awareness, and continue this attention throughout your task, remaining conscious, not to identify or to become lost in thinking, feeling, projecting, remembering. Even in potentially uncomfortable circumstances, we have to keep our attention divided and this essence protected. And here we see that by the very nature of this relationship, that there is nothing mechanical that can become conscious. Mechanical is a reaction, not a response. And a machine, a mechanism, will never and can never become conscious. Active consciousness is what is needed to awaken the essence, to activate it, to use it, to develop it. And voluntary implies, from the Latin volun, will. We need the power of will, or more clearly put, the power of willingness. We need to be willing to experience, to be present. We can't force our attention or do things because we feel we should or we have to. Those are reactions. As above, so below. We've probably heard that many times. And understanding that this little s self, in substance and in nature, is the being, but conditioned to believe that I am these thoughts, I am these feelings, I am this body, I am separate, I am alone, I'm misunderstood, when in reality, I am this true self. It is my desires, my orientation, my identification with this sense of self, the myself, the ego, this finite, limited perspective of reality that profoundly keeps me asleep in the belief that separates me from the ultimate reality. That ultimate reality in the East was called Brahman. And you may have heard this before, but Atman, or the self, the true self, in reality is Brahman. That is to say, that I am the essence of my true self that is in ecstasy with the ultimate reality. Atman is Brahman. I am not separated. I just believe that I am. And to believe and to be conscious are two radically different things. This is revolutionary psychology. The next chapter is to accuse oneself. Thank you for your time, your attention, and presence.